So I wanted to start by saying how impressed I am, and some of you may want the headphones on, because unfortunately I don't speak Latvian. So the reason I was very impressed with the Terēze Community Foundation is because of the engagement with the local community, and I thought that was very important. But also, I think what that demonstrates is how you can all be stronger together. And being stronger together, I think you can serve the next generation of Latvian young people to have a brighter future that you're all trying to deliver, along the concepts of service above self. So I sit here as an example of how voluntary organizations have helped to change people's lives. So you can be that change that you want to see in the world. And it's a privilege for me to be here to share my life story, growing up on the streets of Calcutta to then being rescued by Māte Terēze. I expect a lot of you are aware that it's been a year since Māte Terēze became a saint, and it's been 20 years since her death. So I'd like to talk about some of her achievements towards inspiring change in the world, and for her service to the poorest of the poor, and a little bit about her canonization and how she changed my life forever. So I want to start by showing you a little clip of her Nobel Speech Prize acceptance speech.
To be able to understand the poor, I choose the poverty of our poor people. But I am grateful, and I'm very happy to receive it in the name of the hungry, of the naked, of the homeless, of the crippled, of the blind, of the lepers, of all those people who feel unwanted, unloved, uncared, throwaway of the society, people who have become a burden to the society and are shunned by everybody. In their name, I accept the award. Today, I ask, with God's grace, we will be able to bring peace in the world.
There's no doubt that she was a saint in real life. Her connection was about love. It was about the spirit. It wasn't really about helping people, making them better or feeding them or whatever. It was about the dignity of the spirit and the love that she felt for humanity through the love of God. That was her way of thinking about things, and she's been very clear in all of her writings. And even through her years of doubt, she kept with those beliefs, and she stuck with it, even though it was very difficult for her. I don't think she had an easy life by any means. So I think we have misinterpreted her in the West. I think we think of her as a social worker, a do-gooder. I don't think she was. I think she was somebody who was intensely spiritual. And what mattered to her most was that connection with God and how she found that through other humans.
So in the space of 20 minutes, it's impossible to talk of human health, of education, and of all that is most dear to our hearts. I think in the space of 20 minutes, it is impossible not to speak of that we hold most dear. I am a survivor. I am a polio survivor. And my life started when I was a toddler in Calcutta, aged around 18 months. And I survived polio at a time and a place when 1 in 5 children were dying of the virus. And I was paralyzed in my lower limbs, and because of poverty, geography, and disability, my original family were not able to look after me properly, which is how I ended up being rescued by Māte Terēze. Many of my memories that I have from Calcutta and living as an orphan are a bit of a nightmare. It was a very dark, sad, and lonely time of my life. And I lived at a charity and in the children's orphanage for 5 years until I was adopted. There was no childhood, there was only survival. And because of polio, my destiny led me to meet my adopted mother, Patricia, and to a new life in England. One day I was in an orphanage in India, and the next day I was in central London. Today I have no memory of my birth mother or father, or indeed of anyone in my original family. I started school at Hill House, which is in London, and I'm right in the middle at the front, which was also the same school that was attended by Prince Charles and his sister, Princess Anne, followed by Bedales, which was a boarding school in Petersfield. As you can imagine, going from being one of India's poorest to being someone who was very privileged with education, it was an extreme contrast for someone who had grown up on the streets of Calcutta to then being given a chance to shine through education. After school, I spent a year travelling around the world with friends before going to university to study international business management with French. I wasn't very good at university, so I started a nightclub called Level 1 in Southampton, which is along the coast. And it was during that period that I became heavily involved with the music side of the business, which then influenced me to go back to London and work in the music business. And I spent almost 10 years working at Creation, and we had bands like Oasis, which some of you may know. I left the music business and went on to become a filmmaker, and I started working with international NGOs such as Rotary International, the World Health Organization, and UNICEF on global health security projects focusing on polio eradication in India. The World Report on Disability, which was produced by the World Health Organization and the World Bank, suggests that there are more than 1 billion people in the world that experience disability. People with disabilities have generally poorer health, lower education achievements, fewer economic opportunities, and higher rates of poverty. Those who live in a developing country are among the poorest of the poor. As poverty leads to disability, disability also worsens poverty. So on the 4th of September last year, His Holiness Pope Francis canonized and made Mother Teresa into a saint. I declined my invitation to attend the ceremony in Rome because I felt that my calling was to go back to the people of Calcutta and return home to the sisters of the Missionaries of Charity at the Mother House. And to celebrate her sainthood, I made a film called Mother Teresa and Me, and organised an exhibition of photography and music that was part of the official Vatican's canonization cultural tour. And we toured India for 3 months, and this was pretty much the route. My film has 3 heroes in it: Mother Teresa, myself, and the city that brought us together, which was Calcutta, which is also known as the City of Joy. One of my strongest memories from the roof of Mother Teresa's orphanage is kite flying. And when I looked up at the sky and saw the contrails that were left by the jet planes, I longed to be on one. And I wanted to feel the freedom of flying in the air. And I didn't want my disability to hold me back. And I shall also never forget the first time I saw an aeroplane and flew in one as I left Calcutta. I've always wanted to be a pilot, and I qualified in September 2007. And it was during those pilot training days that I felt alive and I had a sense of freedom, of being liberated. And so I started to have new dreams and visualize my future, where I wanted to help change the world, if not people's lives. So I therefore set up Freedom in the Air, which is a flight training academy teaching people with disabilities to become commanders of aeroplanes. Learning to fly is a great way to change people's lives, to build confidence and reignite that self-belief. For many people with disabilities, flying an aeroplane is very empowering. People feel free, liberated from their disability. And there are no differences between a disabled person and an able-bodied pilot. In the air, everybody is equal. I was privileged to have been trained by some of the best pilots in the world, including those from the Royal Air Force. And I was in awe of how brilliant they work and think. And in the UK, we have many wonderful organisations promoting inclusion and accessibility for disabled people. They're not perfect, of course, but they are fantastic. And that's when I decided to set up Freedom in the Air, because I saw a different way to promote inclusive aviation and inspire change. We've had to overcome lots of obstacles, but what we've achieved in our short 7-year lifetime is more than organisations that are twice our age. So, what do we actually do? I'm going to show you a little clip of Gabriella, who's also part of Team GB Paralympics fencing team.
Gabriella Down from Milton Keynes is no ordinary teenager.
Don't be shy. Give it, yep.
Not only is she about to realise one of her dreams by taking control of a plane, but the 14-year-old has just been selected to represent Team GB at the Paralympics.
I'm really excited. We've now just come back from the team launch, so we're getting our opening closing ceremony kits, and it's making it all a bit more real, and it's really exciting.
Gabriella's been selected as part of the fencing team, but the cool nerve required to handle an épée is not the same when it comes to handling a plane.
I'm really nervous. I'm really excited though as well, but incredibly nervous.
Following some expert tuition, it was time to fly. Taking off from Cranfield Airport and soaring across the Bedfordshire countryside in a plane specially designed to be controlled using only your hands. The day's been organised by 2 charities, Variety, which sponsors Gabriella, and Freedom in the Air.
How do you feel, okay? Pleasure, bye now. Bye-bye.
It was really good. It wasn't as scary as I thought it was. Still a bit nervous though, but yeah, that was really good.
As the 3rd youngest member of Team GB, London 2012 may be more about experience than medals for Gabriella, but after today's lesson, she's setting her sights high for Brazil 2016.
That gives you a little insight into what we do. So not only do we provide flying lessons in aeroplanes that are equipped with hand controls, so anyone with lower limb disabilities can use their hands, but we also design and manufacture those enabling technologies so that disabled people can fly using their hands. As well as the flying training, we offer scholarships for those who can't afford it. And all of our fleet of aeroplanes that you can see, they're all equipped with hand controls. And we can teach people from the leisure all the way to the commercial. And the way we see it is it's the 21st century and every business should be inclusive and accessible. So the vision that we have is to create those opportunities for people with lower limb disabilities to become pilots. And therefore the aim is for any of those disabled people that want to realise that dream, they can do. And flying aeroplanes is just one of those few activities where people with physical disabilities can participate to the same degree as an able-bodied person. And that exhilaration rebuilds confidence and self-esteem. This in turn then empowers people to explore their potential by extending those personal boundaries. For us, creating partnerships and working with other charities is very important. Which makes me then wonder, what can we do if we harness our collective energy for doing good instead of wasting our talents to fight war and wasting those energies on conflicts? And as I said to you before, I haven't allowed my disability to define who I am or what I can do. Over the years, I have a very deep understanding of the importance of voluntary organisations, government, and businesses with corporate social responsibility that are in the world today. I've had some amazing opportunities in my life, and I believe that my calling in life is to celebrate and help others less fortunate, and celebrate indeed that the sky is the limit. And I owe so much to Mother Teresa, to the missionaries of charity, to Patricia, my mother, to my teachers, to the physiotherapists, for all their back-breaking work to give children like me a chance to live. The last time I saw Mother Teresa was 6 months before she died, when this photograph was taken. And she told me that nothing is difficult, just different. If you can't find someone to help realize your dreams, don't be afraid of the unknown and achieve your dreams on your own. I don't believe I have to thank her for anything. However, I have a responsibility not to waste or abuse the second chance in life that she gave me. As teachers, as humans, we create, and yet the greatest inequality in the world is that between creation and destruction. Think of the millions in the world who do not have basic health, education, sanitation, and peace, and suffer from hunger and disease. We are so lucky here, and I wonder how many of us will truly understand and appreciate that. Having spent many years working in the third sector, I now naturally have a wider perspective of the world's priorities. At the end of last year, and this is now the first year since Mother Teresa's canonization, Superior Sister in charge of the missionaries of charity called Sister Prema gave me very special permission to hold my final exhibition in Māte, which is the same chapel that was the birthplace of Mother Teresa's organization. Mother Teresa started living in the slums of Calcutta to serve the destitute and the starving, then started a school. The little school she started was called Nirmal Hriday, which means pure heart. The multimedia project that I created last year explores those people who are affected by disability, poverty, and the lack of opportunity through film, photography, and music. And it became my personal tribute to Mother Teresa. And I'm going to play you a very short video of last year's final event.
When Mother Teresa first entered the slum at Māte, the poverty and suffering she saw was dreadful. On the very first day, she met parents who were delighted at the prospect of having a school in their midst. And on the second day, 5 little children were waiting for her.
Today, I ask, with God's grace, we will be able to bring peace in the world.
Ad honorem Sancte et individue Trinitatis, ad exaltationem Fidei Catholici.
When I was a small boy, I used to live in Shishivaban. In this place, that's right.
Beautiful sky.
So it was nice to go back and
Bija
call it full circle and remind
atgriezties un veikt kā tādu veselu dzīves apli, nonākt vietā, kur sākās Māte Terēzes dzīve un darbs cilvēku labā.
And winner of the Nobel Prize for poetry, Rabindranath Tagore. And he said, I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted and behold, service was joy. Thank you very much. And remember, being good is good.